Hi guys, this is Tech Howdy. I welcome you to another video tutorial where we are creating this featured image slider using ASP.NET Core and Angular 8. In the last video tutorial, we finished creating a gallery which was saved in our database and on our server. Now in this video tutorial, we will learn how we can edit an existing gallery. So we will be working on the edit gallery feature. So as soon as we go to the actions tab, to the preview tab, you should see a drop down for options. This drop down will basically populate all the galleries that you have created. We will select the gallery and then we will click on the edit option. I've finished the project, so I'll show you a demo how it works. So let's look at it. So this is the finished project. And if I go to the admin panel and go to the preview tab, you should see that I have some options being displayed here. So what are these options? These options are nothing but they are the galleries that you have created and stored in your database. These are the titles of all those galleries. So whatever galleries you create, once this page admin/featured slider, this view loads in the browser, it's going to call an Ajax method, which is going to get the list of all the galleries in your database, and it's going to put them here in this drop down. So whenever the user will select the gallery that they want to edit, for example, I want to edit the animal slider. So the details of animal slider will load in this preview box. Then all we have to do is click on this button and then a modal pop-up loads with the details of that gallery. Now all we have to do is if we want to edit anything, we change the details. For example, I want to remove this snow from the description, and I want to remove this polar bears are beautiful animals. I can just say polar bears are beautiful, correct? Now all I want to do is click save. As soon as I click save, I get a response from the server saying that the gallery was updated successfully. And if I go back, you see anyways it's loading because that's my featured slider. So you can see it here itself that the gallery has been updated. It no longer says polar bear are beautiful animal, but it says polar bear are beautiful. So that's what we are going to implement in this video tutorial. So let's not waste time and start coding this. So go back to your index.html and go and we will add the following code to create a modal pop-up. Okay, so the modal pop-up, when the button is clicked, edit gallery, the pencil icon, we will see this modal that will load. This modal has an ID of edit gallery modal, and it has a modal body which has a table inside it. The table does not have any data. We just have one row, which is the table header row, and all other rows and columns will be created dynamically the way we created image preview. Similarly, we will create the details of the gallery that exists in the database dynamically. So now what we want to do is go to gallery.js. Don't worry, all the code is available in DevOps repos, so you can download it. So all you have to do is from the comment starting here, which says modal gallery, edit gallery. So after the last div tag from the previous video, last div tag, just below that, we will add this edit modal gallery code. Now in the gallery.js, we are going to add a method called as edit gallery method. What is this edit gallery method? This is the method that fires off and loads the modal. So if you go and see the code here, go to admin featured slider. If you go to the preview and you look at this button here, if you inspect it, you should see that this button here, when it's clicked, we fire off the edit gallery method. So that's what we are doing here, firing off the edit gallery method. So when the button is clicked, the modal needs to load, correct? So when this button with this image gallery is selected, the details of that gallery that was selected needs to be populated on this table. So first thing on the top we are populating is the ID. So if you look here, let me just actually do it like this so you can understand. So if you see here on the top, you will see that we are loading the value. First, we are getting the ID of the selected image gallery by calling the dot value method. So here, this drop down, when I inspect it, if I open this, every gallery that is being loaded in that drop down has a value. That value is, you see, it's a number. That's not a number, it's basically the ID of the gallery. So now all we want to do is once we get the ID of that gallery, we want to show the modal, and on the modal pop up on the top, we want to show that ID as edit gallery with some text, which is going to be edit gallery plus the ID. Then we are also going to uh, save the ID of that gallery in an object that is hidden from the client. So you do this, you'll see here I have hidden it, but here we are going to store the actual ID. So the client cannot see it, but it will exist. So it's easy for us to edit the data. Now finally what we want to do is go and call the Ajax method. So the Ajax method, whatever gallery you have selected, it will get the details of that gallery by its ID. So we already have a method in place in our gallery controller that is called as get image gallery. All we want to do is we want to return the value of that gallery. So the details of the gallery are returned, and all we are doing now is we are populating the details inside the modal. Inside the modal, we are adding the gallery title on the top for the gallery title edit input box, which is located inside the modal. That's the input box here. Just to show you the demo, we are talking about this input box. It will be populated with the title of the gallery. And here we are creating dynamic rows and columns, and the code is over here inside. We are removing, if the table body tag already exists, we remove it and we recreate it. And then all we do is for each value that we have returned from the server, received from the server, we will call the build edit row method. What this build edit row method will do, it's similar to the previous video tutorial where we had a method called as build image table row for adding the image. We'll create a row dynamically for editing the image. So we have to now code this method build edit row. So let's do that. So here I'm going to paste the entire method build edit row. All we have to do is pass the value that is being read into this method as a parameter. So function build edit row, the value is passed. It will log the value on the console log, so we can actually see what's the value. And then what we are doing here is we are creating a new row. This is basic HTML that we are concatenating using the plus, that's strings, and we are then embedding the values inside. So whenever you want to embed the values, you can embed them like this and create the rows and columns dynamically. So this is creating one row. As you see, this is creating one row with 5 columns. So every time this method is called, it will create a row with 5 columns and with image, caption, description, alt text and action. So every time it's going to repeat the same step until all the values have been read by the loop. So now this method is done. It calls the values. Just let's go ahead and test what exactly is happening and see what we are going to see before we go ahead and further code this. So let's go here and start debugging. So the application is loaded. So I'm going to the admin slider, go back to preview, going here. So far the values have not been loaded, so we will have to further code this. So we don't see any errors, but we see the modal pop-up loading and we have no details about any gallery. That's because we don't have any gallery to select here. we need some options here, and then when we click edit, that gallery's details will load. So let's go ahead and now do the second part, which is to add the values in that drop down. So when the page loads, we need to populate the drop down with all the galleries that are stored in our database. So that's the task that we are going to perform now. So we have two methods for that. One which is called load the gallery in the select box, and have a nested method which is load galleries. So let's first look at what this method does. Load gallery select. All this method is doing, it's calling the Ajax method of jQuery and calling the API that will return the gallery. So what we are doing, this API method, which we all know, returns the list of all galleries, which is image gallery, is returning all the lists of galleries. So once the list is received, we pass that list to the success method, and then we pass it to this method, which is the load galleries. All this method is doing, it's taking all the galleries and then adding these galleries title to that drop down in the option value. As you can see, the gallery ID and the title is being added in that drop down. We're just running a for loop. So if I have to save this and if I had to run this application, it's not going to work. That's because this method is not being called by any event. This method needs to fire off. Somebody needs to fire off this event. So how do we do that? So in jQuery, if you have used jQuery, you obviously know there is a method document.ready. When document is ready, we can use this method and we can fire off some events. So that's what we are going to do here. All we are going to do is we are going to call the load gallery select method when our document is ready. This is the shorthand for writing document.ready in jQuery. All you have to do is inside this dollar and square brackets like this, or brackets, that's parentheses, you can just create a function and you can then write the logic. So this is the shorthand. This is the same as document dot ready method that we use. So it's the same as that. So you can either use this or you can use $document dot ready, whichever you prefer. So when the document is ready, we will fire off the method that we just wrote, which is to load galleries. And what this method does, it receives the list of galleries and then it adds all the options in the drop down. Let's save this and now try to run our application and see if we have any drop down values being generated. So application is still loading. Let's go to admin feature slide. Oh, one more important thing, to load the galleries, make sure that your database is up and running, your server or your container. If it's not up and running, then obviously it cannot access the values from the database. Server needs to be running, very important. Then you go and call the featured slider. So event is already fired off. An event is fired off, what I had mentioned in the document.ready method is to console.log, it's loaded. So if we go back here, look at the console, hopefully we should see something, and it says gallery.js loaded. So which means if I go to preview, I should see it in drop down. And as you see, I have it in drop down. I have animal gallery because we already have created one gallery in the previous video tutorial and it's added in the drop down. So now if you had to create more galleries, refresh this page, you will see more galleries will be shown in the drop down. Now select the gallery, and then when we click the edit gallery option, the data should be loaded here, right? First thing will be when we select the animal gallery, the preview needs to be generated here for the animal. So far that functionality is not working. So click on animal gallery, the preview needs to be created. So now let's work on this preview. Close this. Let's work on that preview to be generated. So if you go back to the index.slider, index.cshtml, on the select option, you will see whatever option we select, as soon as we select the option, the on change event is fired off. When the onChange event is fired off, we are calling the load slider method and passing the value of the selected option. So that's the method that we need to code now so that the preview is generated. So here we are going to create our load slider method. So here guys, I have created this method called as load slider, which requires the value of the selected option to be passed as the parameter. The function to create the preview slider. So what we are doing is as soon as we get the ID of the selected gallery, we are going to call an Ajax method. We are going to call the API to get the image gallery by its ID. So the get image gallery plus the value, which is the ID. And then once we receive the data, we are going to create a preview of the carousel. A carousel in Bootstrap, we go. So these are carousel examples. You can see. So this is one of the carousel that I have selected. This is the one here which has some description title. So I'm using this carousel. So all I'm doing is this code that is being provided by Bootstrap. Instead of adding that code manually on the HTML, I'm dynamically creating that code using jQuery. So I'm just concatenating the values inside the carousel by using the append method, and I'm actually building that HTML block. So what I'm doing finally is inside the carousel images, I'm running a loop here and passing all the value received from this API call, and then looping through each image and creating one carousel image view for every image. So you can go through this code in step by step and you can understand it. But I will run the application now and we will see if the preview is being generated. So going back, going here, admin feature slider. And if I go to preview slider, the image slider, as soon as I select it, now the preview should be generated because we have a method in place that needs to be executed. So if I click here, let's see what's the problem. If we inspect, okay, okay, the API was not found, get image. Okay, okay, this image here, this API call here, we need to change this because in my gallery controller, if you noticed, we have a method to get the image gallery by its ID, and the one which I am using now is just getting the I'll search get image gallery by ID. So that's the method that we need to call, but I'm calling the method that is returning a list of all galleries. I need to call this method here. So I go back here. Let's put this here, save this. Now, when we are calling this method get image gallery by ID, we need to specify the ID. So we are providing it in the route. So now if we run this application, we should not get an error saying we are calling the API method. We're calling the wrong API method. So if the application loads, we should be able to see a preview being generated. So let's go back to admin featured slider, preview, select the image gallery. And as you see, as soon as I select animal gallery, I get the animal gallery's preview being generated. We go to inspect tab, and in the inspect tab, let me reduce the size of this like this. And here in the inspect tab, we can always look at the network tab and see what's going on in API calls. So here, if I had to refresh this image slider, featured slider, and now let's go to preview. And here I want to see what API is being called. As soon as we select the image animal gallery, we are not getting any errors over here. Our console is also pretty much clean. So all we are doing is we are getting the galleries being console logged. So if you look at my method over here, console log the value of each data or each value that is being read. So if you look at our console, so first time when the loop ran, it console logged the first image, then the details of the second image, and the details of the third image. So you don't have to add the console.log statement. This is just for testing purposes to see what's going on. Also, if you want to see how this process works, you can go to sources, you can go to upload to libraries, JS, I'm sorry, custom JS, gallery JS, and site gallery JS. As we all know, this is the method that is generating the preview. So if I had to just put a breakpoint here, okay, and we can just refresh this page, go back to preview, select the gallery. Now you see the breakpoint is hit. We have received some data by this API call. So the value. Now if you look at this data that was received on the successful call of the API, this is basically the gallery details that are being returned. So that's all is being printed actually here. When this loop goes further, it is when it reaches here, it's going to print the value of the image. So the first image will be loaded, correct? Because this is the first time the loop is running. So if I hit this, should print it. If you go to console, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 images. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sorry, 3 and 4. So here we have 4 images loaded. If you had some other gallery, you can add more galleries and try playing around with it. It should also work. So there is no errors. Now guys, the next step is to check if the edit functionality works of the animal gallery. Click on it. The data is not being loaded for that gallery. Now that's where we have to start working on it. So let's do that. First, we will check in our console if there is any errors. Yes, there is errors, and I'm pretty much sure it's the same mistake that I did. I'm calling the wrong API. So let's go and correct that API call. You can keep the application running. And here, this method, load gallery selected. I think it's this here, edit gallery functionality here. So this is the wrong method here. So this API should be, since we are going to load the gallery to edit it, we are loading a list which doesn't make sense. So apologize. Here, this edit gallery method is being called when this button is clicked, correct? So we inspect, and if you look at the inspect button, when it says edit gallery method is clicked. Now the edit gallery method is calling a list API, which is wrong. It should call it by ID because we are specifying only one gallery. So if I save this, now go back here, I shouldn't see anything on my console. Control R to reload on Mac. Not seeing anything here. Go back. Let me add this to the bottom here, and so we can see it how it's working. And inspect. And here I will go to console. I'm going back to preview. Select the gallery, which is the animal gallery. So the breakpoint is hit. Let me remove this breakpoint. Now I'm going to click on the edit option, and this data is being loaded. So all the mistake that was happening was I was calling the wrong API method endpoint. So here you can see the details are being loaded. This here is the console.log entry when we are calling this method edit gallery. So we are calling this row method here, And here we are actually logging the description. That's why you're seeing the description. Now let's test if it works. It's not going to work because when we change anything here, description changed, we are going to submit. If we inspect button edit, yes. So we don't have any method in place that when this button is clicked, we fire off some event which is going to update the database. So let's work on that method in the next video tutorial. So for this video tutorial, we have completed adding the preview to update the gallery that's being selected. We have also created dynamically rows and columns for the gallery images. Only the final step that is left is when this button here is clicked, we should be able to upload new image. When also when this button here is click save, we should be able to save the new changes. So these are the two functionalities that remain in updating the gallery, which we are going to add in our next video tutorial. If you have any other questions, use the comment section. I'll be happy to answer those questions. Here, I've not gone through each code in step by step, and the reason being this is jQuery code and you should understand how it works because this is very basic code of jQuery. And also, if you still struggle in understanding, very simple, the way I learn things is go to your developer tool console, go to sources, go to the method itself. Here, understand how the method works by placing a breakpoint at the start of the method. As soon as the method load galleries is being hit next, this option here, next function, next, and then go through each step. Understand what's happening in each step, what values are receiving, what's happening on the screen, what's happening on here on the console. So this is how you learn. So that should be it for this video tutorial. In the next video tutorial, what I'm going to show you as explained is the functionality to save these changes in your database and to upload new images by using this action button here. Thank you once again. Please like and subscribe my channel Tech Howdy. Entire code is available in DevOps repos. Thank you and have a good day.